I want you to pay particularly close attention to this latest comment by Trump attorney Alina Habba.
Yeah. And actually, one of my focuses of my portfolio is human extortion, human trafficking, and labor and cyber and finance extortion that has happened because of these individuals bringing minors, bringing women, bringing individuals over the border and then seeing them get tortured. And the facts that she mentioned, those are just public ones. I assure you, what I've been briefed on is so severely disturbing that if America knew just 10% of it, they would be happy to have these individuals out. They are a danger to our society, and they have no business being in this country.
Quote, actually, one of the focuses of my portfolio is human extortion, human trafficking, which I found pretty interesting as far as a quote is concerned, because she works for an administration that just weeks ago worked to secure the release of Andrew Tate, who was literally charged with rape and human trafficking in Romania. Of course, if you're wondering why, well, that's because Andrew Tate is an outspoken Trump supporter. In other words, Habba is very against trafficking, unless the trafficker in question voted for her boss. And hey, don't take my word for it, take hers.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
Well, nice to meet you. I'm a fan. You're the one saving Trump. You're doing more important work than me.
America, not just Trump. And I agree with everything you just said. And I think that your anger is the same that President Trump has for our country. And the time is now for us to stop being wimps. I think that's exactly the right sentiment. And I also have to say that I sympathize with you because I think you go through a lot of the same show me the person, I'll find the crime that President Trump has gone through. And
I'm a big fan, says Alina Habba, who cosplays as a champion against human trafficking, of Andrew Tate, a charged human trafficker, just in case you needed it laid out very, very clearly. In fact, it's not just Alina Habba. J.D. Vance took to Twitter, writing, there were violent criminals and rapists in our country. Democrats fought to keep them here. President Trump deported them. Again, this is the vice president of an administration that secured the release of their own accused trafficker for no reason other than the fact that he supported their campaign. You sacrifice your ability to take some moral high ground when you help the traffickers whose political ideologies comport with yours. Now, let's get to the other issue here, because I know that the criticism here is going to be, why are you advocating for Venezuelan gang members? To be clear, I am not advocating for Venezuelan gang members. I'm advocating for due process. These people were all alleged to be gang members by the Trump administration. If they are indeed gang members, then prove it in court. If it pans out, deport them. But without that due process, what we're saying is that the accusation alone from the Trump administration is enough to forego that due process. Do we really want to establish the precedent that all Trump has to do is accuse someone of being a gang member and then boom, they're deported? Do you really believe that this administration is acting in complete good faith and wouldn't include, non-gang members in their roundups, but then just claim that they're gang members as a pretense to be able to easily deport them? Again, if they are gang members, if they're criminals, if they've done anything wrong, I'll be the first one to applaud their departure. Honestly, I have nothing to gain by advocating for dangerous people to stay in this country. I want my city to be safe just like anybody else does, left, right, or center. And I mean that. But we are a nation of laws, so we should follow them. I asked 30-year former federal prosecutor Glenn Kirshner about this exact point, and here's what he had to say. I know that there are going to be those on the right who say, why stick your neck out at all for folks who we're talking about Venezuelan gang members, alleged Venezuelan gang members, and so why not want to just get them out of the country as soon as possible? Why go through this whole process of trying to prevent them from being just deported as quickly as humanly possible? And so what would you say to that argument?
I would say first, Brian, these are alleged Venezuelan gang members. What we don't allow our executive branch to do, our prosecutors, our law enforcement agencies, is to say with no hearing, no evidentiary showing, and no due process, these 200 people, in my estimation, are bad folk. I'm going to call them Venezuelan gang members. Grab them up without due process, without any rights, without any hearings, put them on a dang plane and send them to another country. That'll teach them. Listen, I am not arguing in favor of allowing dangerous, folks who are members of gangs and who are here illegally to run around our country with impunity. I would never argue that. Hell, I was a career prosecutor and I went after people who broke the laws of the United States. However, if you have no due process, you have Donald Trump sitting up on high, and by basically royal fiat, he says, gone with all of these people, then we're not protecting anybody, because there has to be a lawful process in place before the United States gets to grab people up and eject them from our country.
In fact, even the Murdoch-owned New York Post echoed this claim with a headline that read, "Sorry, Elon, even deporting illegal gangbangers must heed to the rule of law." Again, it is not extreme nor even a left-wing position to demand that we abide by the very basic elements of due process. In fact, that is a right-wing position that I'm espousing here. We have spent years and years and years listening to Republicans beat their chests about being the party of law and order. This is what law and order looks like. What is extreme, by the way, is the position being adopted by these Trump mouthpieces that suddenly, again, after decades of beating their chests as the law and order party, don't believe in the very concept of due process. In fact, here's Fox's Jessica Tarlov attempting to explain that to, of all people, someone who calls herself Judge Janine.
There is a good reason that everybody is saying alleged members and suspected members, because these people, as Dana said, have not gotten their due process. And there's an immigration attorney who has been posting about her client who was supposed to show up in court on Thursday, has been disappeared since then, is allegedly on this plane, and this person
what was he
is here.
Supposed to show up in court for?
What, he had a legitimate asylum claim. He had tattoos.
Legitimate asylum. It's not legitimate until a judge says it's legitimate.
But if you make it so that that person can't see a judge, then you're denying them their due process.
I don't know if I buy
What
it.
Trump is essentially saying is that the asylum system, as we know it, is done. That you can show up here and you're fleeing from persecution in Venezuela, for instance, and you don't get your day in court. So if that's what it is moving forward, then just say that. Be honest.
But you know the asylum system.
Again, imagine being someone known as Judge Janine and not understanding the importance of due process. For anybody out there who thinks that it's the left that's gotten more extreme, that's gone off the cliff, you've got the most watched show on the biggest right-wing cable network who just so happens to be a literal judge whose stated position is that due process should not exist. So look, I want to reiterate again, if these alleged gang members are indeed gang members, if they've done anything wrong and aren't simply brown people who the Trump administration has rounded up under the pretense of being gang members, then by all means, do what you have to do. Abide by the rule of law, deport them. Again, I want safe streets as much as the most conservative person in the world, and I mean that with every fiber of my being. But what I'm not willing to do is sacrifice the entire rule of law and strip people of their day in court in pursuit of that. Because while today it's Venezuelans, tomorrow it could be another group, and the next day another and another, and if we allow ourselves to fall down this slippery slope of accepting lawlessness, eventually it'll find its way down the line to one of us. I am not willing to pause the law, neither is the Murdoch-owned New York Post, and you shouldn't either. Before you go, first, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we're now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they're willing to cater to this White House. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a great way for me to be able to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's completely free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support my work. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.